that, like in other conflicts, in Ukraine, for example, unfortunately, 5 million people had to leave Ukraine as a result of the war. They were received by neighbors, at least temporarily. As a result of the war in Syria, in which 12 million people were displaced from their homes, at least 6 to 8 million had to leave Syria. So why Gaza is the only place in which people cannot leave? Not forcefully, right? So those countries that are willing to host them, if they have feelings for them, we're willing to help them with that. But it doesn't mean, I'm not talking about this cynically. I'm talking about it seriously. We can create a situation that Palestinians have a better future. They deserve what other people deserve. If they are freed from this radicalism, they can have a better future. Why cannot they have a Riviera? They can. But we have to create a situation in which we defeat the radicals, in which we bring into Gaza power that can actually bring new values, that can bring hope. And if we succeed, then Trump can have his way. Maybe not 2 million people will leave, maybe only 200,000. They can come back when the situation improves. So we have to think outside the box. I think that we have enough common interest. Those countries that are interested in prosperity, in security, in technology, we have a coalition under CENTCOM, under the American umbrella. We are already sitting, people don't know this, but every now and then, all the chiefs of the armies of Israel and the Arab states sit together with the Americans, to discuss issues of common interest. So we have to free ourselves from the chains of the past and cooperate with this incoming administration in getting rid of archaic. I'll give another example. UNRWA. There is a UN organization that was established in 1948 to perpetuate the Palestinian problem. So the people of Gaza, by the way, that they don't want to leave Gaza, they want to stay there, they say that they don't belong to Gaza. They are refugees. They want to go back to Israel. So you have to decide, either you want to stay in Gaza, you want to go to Israel, right? You cannot have it both ways. So this UNRWA organization that was heavily infiltrated by Hamas, it has to be disbanded. Imagine that in 1948, after the terrible war you had here, and after Pakistan, India were established as independent states, people that had to escape Pakistan would still receive food ratios 75 years after from the UN. Can you imagine that? This is what's happening in our region. Fourth generation are receiving food ratios from the UN. This is completely ridiculous. We have to get rid of that. If we stop perpetuating the conflict, then we can solve the conflict.
It's a very valid point you bring out about creating dependencies and then, sort of falling victim to its outcomes in the long term. Israel's conflicts have been extensively in the urban domain of late against terrorists and in dense urban atmosphere, ecosystems, Gaza especially. And Israeli defense forces have the history of having fought conventional wars in the past. So how has the Israeli defense forces and especially the Israeli Air Force adapted? Because today, unlike most countries, very interestingly, yours is probably the only country which has Air Force as a leading element of its military instrument. So how has this change come about, fighting conventional wars to fighting unseen terrorist?
Well, today we have the honor to have a lot of people from the defense establishment, so they know very well that usually the defense, the army gets ready for the war that happened, not for the war that will happen. And that's something that is very difficult to deal with, because sometimes you don't know what is going to be the nature of the threat and what is the answer to the new challenge your enemy is going to bring in front of you. So in Israel, we understood very well that Iran was building around us a ring of fire. Is supplying this missile technology and drone technology to many proxies, terrorist organizations in the region, to the Houthis in Yemen, to the Shiite militias in Iraq, to Hezbollah in Lebanon, to the militias in Syria, etc. Building factories in Syria, factories in Lebanon. So we knew that we have to get prepared for that. So for years, not only we've been gathering intelligence about that, but we created a multi-layered system of missile defense.